भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाठशाला देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे। तो कल हमने देखा था कि किस प्रकार से जो हरि नाम है वो नाम चिंतामणि है, यानी कि भगवान श्री कृष्ण का जो नाम है वो चिंतामणि के समान है। हमारी जितनी भी स्पिरिचुअल डिजायर्स है वो सारी फुलफिल कर सकता है, और इवन मटेरियल डिजायर्स भी। और भगवान श्री कृष्ण और उनका नाम अभिन्न है, और ये इस मटेरियल नेचर में आया जरूर है, लेकिन ये कभी भी इस मटेरियल नेचर के द्वारा कंटामिनेट नहीं होता। तो ये जो हरिनाम चिंतामणि जो बुक है उसको हिज होलिनेस भानु स्वामी महाराज ने ट्रांसलेट किया है, जिसको हम रीड करने जा रहे हैं। चैप्टर 1, ग्लोरीज ऑफ द होली नेम। ऑल ग्लोरीज टू गदाधर एंड गौरांगा, टू द लाइफ ऑफ जानवा नित्यानंद प्रभु। तो श्री गदाधर प्रभु यानी कि श्रीमती राधा रानी जो कि पंचतत्व में है, और गौरांग प्रभु यानी कि चैतन्य महाप्रभु जो कि जानवा माता, जो कि और टू द लाइफ ऑफ जानवा नित्यानंद प्रभु। तो नित्यानंद प्रभु और उनकी वाइफ जो उनकी पत्नी है लीला में, उनका नाम है जानवा माता। तो उन दोनों के प्राण है गौरांग महाप्रभु एंड गदाधर पंडित। और ऑल ग्लोरीज टू सीता एंड अद्वैत यानी कि अद्वैत आचार्य और सीता ठाकुरानी जो कि लीला में उनकी पत्नी है। टू श्रीवास एंड ऑल द डिवोटीज, श्रीवास आचार्य जो कि नारद मुनि के रूप में, और जितने भी डिवोटीज हैं उन सभी को हम प्रणाम करते हुए ये आगे बढ़ रहे हैं। तो नीलाचल में जगन्नाथ टेम्पल में भगवान श्री कृष्ण दारू ब्रह्म यानी कि जगन्नाथ जी के रूप में रिसाइड करते हैं, और बहुत ही मर्सीफुली वो डिवोटीज की जितनी भी डिजायर्स होता है, चाहे वो मटेरियल हो चाहे स्पिरिचुअल हो, चाहे अगर उनको मटेरियल एंजॉयमेंट करना है तो उसकी डिजायर्स भी फुलफिल करते हैं, लिबरेशन चाहिए तो वो डिजायर भी फुलफिल करते हैं। और उसी सेम धाम में भगवान श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य महाप्रभु के रूप में आते हैं, एक सन्यासी के रूप में, और काशी मिश्र के घर पर रहते हैं। और इस कलयुग में वो हरिनाम और भगवान श्री कृष्ण का प्रेम फ्रीली उसको सबको डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करते हैं। There the Lord took great care to present the proper spiritual teachings to the living entities. और भगवान श्री कृष्ण की जो भी लीलाएं हैं, ऐसे श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभु हर एक लीला में कोई ना कोई लेसन है। तो वो अलग अलग डिवोटीज के थ्रू उनसे जो बात करते हैं उसके थ्रू वो अलग अलग चीजें हमको सिखाते हैं। फॉर एग्जाम्पल श्री रामानंद राय, जब उनसे वो बात करते हैं, उनकी जो भी कन्वर्सेशंस है वो बहुत डीप है। उसमें वो रसा जो अलग अलग रस है, भक्ति रस, उसके बारे में एक्सप्लेन करते हैं। फिर सार्वभौम भट्टाचार्य, तो वो एक मायावादी थे, तो उनके थ्रू वो रियल प्रिंसिपल ऑफ लिबरेशन, मायावादी सोचते हैं कि भगवान के साथ में एक हो जाना यही है लिबरेशन, लेकिन भगवान श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभु सार्वभौम भट्टाचार्य को समझाते हैं, उसके थ्रू हमको बताते हैं कि रियल मीनिंग ऑफ लिबरेशन क्या है। पिछले रूप गोस्वामी जो कि वृंदावन में थे, तो उनको भगवान ने भक्ति के उपदेश दिए थे, और फिर उन्होंने भक्ति रसामृत सिंधु लिखा था। देन फिर श्रीला हरिदास ठाकुर, उनके थ्रू उन्होंने हरिनाम की महिमा की ये लीला दर्शाई थी। तो अपन अपनी रीडिंग स्टार्ट करते हैं। Meta Mataji, you can read.
Seeing Krishna everywhere and always. In our practical life, Krishna instructs us how to invoke Krishna consciousness. It is not that we are to stop executing our duties or to cease from from activity. Rather, activities have to be conducted in Krishna consciousness. Everyone has a vocation in life, but with what consciousness does he enter upon it? Everyone is thinking, oh, I must have a vocation in order to maintain my family, society, the government, or the family have to be satisfied, and no one is free from such consciousness. One has to keep proper consciousness to execute any activity nicely. He whose consciousness is agitated, who is like a madman, cannot execute our duty. We should execute our duty properly, but we should do it thinking to satisfy Krishna. It is not that we have to change our process of work, but we have to do to understand for whom we are working. Whatever activity we have to do, we must execute, but we should not be carried away by kama desire. The Sanskrit word of kama is used to indicate lust, desire, or sense satisfaction. Sri Krishna instructs that we should not work for the satisfaction of kama or our own lust. The whole teaching of Bhagavad Gita is based on this principle. Arjun wanted to satisfy his senses by refraining from fighting with his relatives, but Krishna spoke to him to convince him to execute his duty for the satisfaction of the Supreme. Materially, it may seem very pious that he is giving up his claim for a kingdom and refusing to kill his relatives. But Krishna did not approve of this because the principle of Arjun's decision was to satisfy his own senses. One's business or occupation need not be changed, as Arjun was not changed, but one does have to change his consciousness. In order to change his consciousness, however, knowledge is required. That knowledge is knowing I am the part and parcel of Krishna, the supreme energy of Krishna. This is the real knowledge. Relative knowledge may teach us how to repair a machine, but real knowledge is knowing our position as being integral with Krishna. Being a part of Him, our pleasure, which is partial, is dependent on the whole. For instance, my hand can take pleasure when it is attached to the body and serves it. It does not take pleasure in serving another body. Because we are part of Krishna, our pleasure is in serving Him. I cannot be happy serving you. Everyone is thinking I can only be happy serving myself, but no one knows who the self is. That self is Krishna.
ममैवांश जीवलोके जीवभूता सनातनः मनः साध्यानि इन्द्रियाणि प्रकृतिस्थानि कर्षति. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to the conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. The jivas or the living entity are now detached from the whole world, from the whole due to material contact. It is therefore necessary for us to strive strive to attach ourselves again through the latent of Krishna consciousness that is within us. Artificially, we are trying to forget Krishna and live independently, but that is not possible. When we strive to live independent of Krishna, we become under the influence of the laws of material nature. If one thinks that he is independent of Krishna, he becomes dependent on the illusory energy of Krishna. Just as if one thinks that he is independent of the government and its regulations, he becomes dependent on the police force. Everyone is trying to become independent, and that is called Maya, illusion. Individually, communally, socially, and nationally, or universally, it is not possible to become independent. When we come to realize that we are dependent, we have attained knowledge. So today, so many people are striving for peace in the world, but they do not know how to implement that peace formula. The United Nations have been striving for peace for so many years, but still war is going on. यच्चापि सर्वभूतानां बीजं तद् अहम् अर्जुन न तद् अस्ति विना यत्स्यान् मायाभूतां चराचरम्. Furthermore, O Arjuna, I am the generating seed of all existence. There is no being moving or non-moving that can exist without me.
Krishna is thus the proprietor of everything, the ultimate beneficiary and the receiver of all the results of everything. We may consider ourselves to be the proprietors of the fruits of our labor, but this is a misconception. We must come to understand that Krishna is the ultimate proprietor of the fruits of our works. Hundreds of people may be working in an office, but they understand that whatever profit the business makes belong to the proprietor. As soon as the teller at the bank thinks, oh, I have so much money, I am the proprietor, let me take it home with me, his trouble begins. If we think that we can use whatever wealth we have amassed for our own sense gratification, we are acting out of calm, lust. But if we come to understand that everything we have belongs to Krishna, we are liberated. We may have the same money in our hands, but as soon as we think that we are the proprietor, we are under the influence of Maya. One who is situated in the consciousness that everything belongs to Krishna is an actual learned man. Ishavasyam idam sarvam yatkincha jagatyayam jagatyam jagat tena tvaktena bhunjita ma kritha kasya svidhanam. Everything animate and or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself which are set aside as his quota, and one must not accept other things knowing well to whom they belong.
This consciousness of Ishwarasya, everything belongs to Krishna, must be revived not only individually but nationally and universally. Then there will be peace. We often tend to be philanthropic and altruistic, and we strive to be friends with our countrymen, with our families, and with all the peoples of the world. But this is based on the wrong conception. The real friend is Krishna, and if we want to benefit our family, nation, or planet, we will work for him. If we have our family's welfare in mind, we will try to make our all the members Krishna consciousness. There are so many men trying to benefit their families, but unfortunately, they do not succeed. They do not know what the real problem is. And as the Bhagavatam says, one should not attempt to become a father, mother, or teacher unless he is able to save his child from death, from the grip of material nature. The father should be in knowledge of Krishna, and he should be determined that innocent children who are entrusted to him will not have to undergo the cycle of birth and death again. He should be resolved to train his children in such a way that they will no longer have to be subjected to the painful cycle of birth and death. But before one can do this, he has to make himself expert. If he becomes expert in Krishna consciousness, he can help not only his children but his society and nation. But if himself is bound by ignorance, how can he unite others who are similarly bound? Before one can make others free, he must be free himself. Actually, no one is free man, for everyone is under the spell of the material nature. But one who is surrendered to Krishna cannot be touched by Maya. He of all men is free. If one places himself in sunlight, there is no question of darkness. But if one places himself in artificial light, it may flicker and go out. Krishna is just like that sunlight. Where he is present, there is no question of darkness and ignorance. The wise men, the Mahatmas, understand this.
हम सर्वस्य प्रभवो मत्तः सर्वं प्रवर्तते इति मत्वा भजन्ते मां बुधा भावसमन्विताः. I am the source of all spiritual and material world. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. In this verse, the word Buddha is used, which indicates a wise man or one who is learned. What is his symptom? He knows that Krishna is the fountainhead of everything, of all emanations. He knows that whatever he sees is but an emanation of Krishna. In the material world, sex life is the most prominent factor. Sexual attraction is found in all species of life, and one may ask where it comes from. The wise man understands that this tendency is in Krishna, and that is revealed in his relationship with the damsels of Raja. Whatever is found on whatever is found in this material world can also be found in perfection in Krishna. The difference is that in the material world everything is manifest in a pervaded form, but in Krishna all of these tendencies and manifestations exist in pure consciousness, in spirit. One who knows this in full knowledge becomes a pure devotee of Krishna.
महात्मानस्तु मां पाठा दैवं प्रकृतमाश्रिताः भजन्ते अनन्यमनसो ज्ञात्वा भूतादिमव्ययम् सततं कीर्तयन्तु मां यतन्तश्च तृणवृता नमस्यन्तश्च मां भक्त्या नित्ययुक्ता उपासते. O son of Pita, those who are not deluded, the great souls are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible, always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me. These great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. Who is the great soul, the Mahatma? It is he who is under the influence of the superior energy at the present. We are under the influence of Krishna's imperial energy. As living entities, our position is marginal. We can transfer ourselves to either of the two energies. Krishna is fully independent because we are part and parcel of him. We also have this quality of independence. Therefore, we have a choice as to which energy we will function under. Because we are ignorant of the superior nature, we have no alternative but to remain in the inferior nature. Some philosophies propound that there is no nature other than the one we are presently experiencing, and that the only solution is to nullify it and become void. But we cannot be void because we are living entities. It does not mean that we are finished just because we change our bodies. Before we can get out of from the material nature, we have to understand where our place actually is, where we are to go. If we do not know where we are to go, then we will simply say, "Oh, we do not know what is superior and inferior. All we know is this. So let us stay here and rot." Bhagavad Gita, however, gives us information of the superior nature and superior energy.
What Krishna speaks, he speaks for all eternity. It does not change. It does not matter what our present occupation is or what Arjuna's occupation was. He only have to change our consciousness. At present, we are guided by the consciousness of self-interest, but we do not know what our real self-interest is. Actually, we do not have self-interest, but sense interest. Whatever we are doing to satisfy the senses. It is the it is this consciousness that has to be changed. In its place, we must implant our real self-interest, Krishna consciousness. How is this done? How is it possible to become Krishna consciousness in every step of our life? Actually, Krishna makes it very simple for us. Rasoham apsu konteya prabhasmis sashi suryayo pranavaha sarva vedeshu shabdakehe paurusham narshu. O the son of Kunti, I am the taste of the water, the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras and sound in ether and ability in man. In this verse, Sri Krishna is describing how we can be fully Krishna conscious in all the stages of the life. All the living entities must drink water. The taste of the water is so nice that when we are thirsty, nothing but water seems to do. No manufacturer can create the pure taste of the water. We can thus remember Krishna or God when we drink water. No one can avoid drinking water every day of his life. So God consciousness is there. How can we forget?
Similarly, when there is some illumination, that is also Krishna. The original effulgence in the spiritual sky, the Brahma Jyoti emanates from the body of Krishna. This material sky is covered. The very nature of the material universe is darkness, which we experience at night. It is being artificially illuminated by the sun, by the reflected light of the moon, and by the electricity. Where is where is this illumination coming from? The sun is being illuminated by the Brahma Jyoti, or the bright effulgence of the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, there is no need of sun, moon, or electricity, because there everything is illuminated by the Brahma Jyoti. On this earth, however, we can remember Krishna whenever we see some illumination of the sun. When we chant the Vedic mantras which begin with Om, we can also remember Krishna. Om like Hare Krishna. It is also addressed to God. And Om is also Krishna. Shabdaha means sound. And whenever we hear any sound, we should know that it is a vibration of the original sound, the pure sound of the pure spiritual sound, Om or Hare Krishna. Whatever sound we hear in the material world, but is a is a but a reflection of that original spiritual sound, Om. In this way, when we hear sound, when we drink water, when we see some illumination, we can remember God. If we can do this, then then we will not remember God. This is the process of Krishna consciousness. In this way, we can remember Krishna 24 hours a day, and in this way, Krishna is with us. Of course, Krishna is always with us, but as soon as we remember his presence, his act is felt and is factual and is felt.
There are 9 different processes for associating with God, and the first method of association is Shravanam, hearing. By reading the Bhagavad Gita, we hear the speeches of Sri Krishna, which means that we actually associating with Krishna or God. We should always remember that when we speak of Krishna, we refer to God. Inasmuch as we associate with God as we go on hearing the words of Krishna and his names, the contamination of material nature is reduced. In understanding Krishna is in understanding that Krishna is sound, illumination, water, and so many other things, it becomes impossible to avoid Krishna. If we can remember Krishna in this way, our association with him is permanent. Association with Krishna is just like association with sunshine. Where there is sunshine, there is no contamination. As long as one is out in the UV rays of the sun, he will not be diseased. In Western medicine, sunshine is recommended for all kinds of diseases. According to the Vedas, a diseased man should worship the sun for cure. Similarly, if we associate with Krishna and Krishna consciousness, our maladies are cured. By chanting Hare Krishna, we can associate with Krishna and we can see that water as Krishna, and the sun and moon as Krishna, and we can hear Krishna in sound and taste him in water. Unfortunately, in our present condition, we have forgotten Krishna, but now we have to revive our spiritual life by remembering him.
This process of Shravanam Kirtanam, hearing and chanting, was approved by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when Lord Chaitanya was speaking with Ramananda Rai, a friend of the Lord's and a great devotee. The Lord questioned him about the methods of spiritual realization. Ramanand recommended Varsh, Varnashram Dharma, Sannyas, the renunciation of work, and so many other methods. But Lord Chaitanya said, no, all of these are not so good. Each time Ramananda Rai suggested something, Lord Chaitanya rejected it, requesting a better method for spiritual development. Finally, Ramananda Rai quoted a Vedic aphorism which recommended that one give up all the unnecessary endeavor in mental speculation for understanding God, because by speculation it is not possible to arrive at the ultimate truth. Scientists, for instance, may speculate about distant stars and planets, but they can never come to any conclusion without experience. One may go on speculating throughout his life and never reach any conclusions. It is especially useless to speculate about God. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam recommends that all sorts of speculation should be given up. It is recommended instead that one should become submissive, realizing that not only he is an insignificant creature, but that is only one small this earth is only one small point of the great universe. New York City may seem very large, but when one realizes that the earth is one realizes that when it's a small spot, that on the earth the United States is just another small spot, and that United States New York City is millions, then one can understand that it is very important for all. Realizing our insignificance in the face of the universe and the God, we should not be artificially puffed up, but should be submissive. We should be very careful not to fall prey to the frog philosophy. Once there was a frog in a well, and upon being informed the existence of Atlantic Ocean by the friend, he asked the friend, "Oh, what is that Atlantic Ocean?"
It is a vast body of water, his friend replied. How vast? It is double the size of his well. Oh no, much larger, much larger, his friend replied. How much larger? 10 times the size? In this way, the frog went on calculating. But what is the possibility of his understanding the depths and far reaches of the great ocean? Our, our faculties, experience, and powers of speculation are always limited. We can only give rise to such frog philosophy. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam recommends that we that we give up the method of speculation as a waste of time in trying to understand the Supreme. After giving up speculation, what should we do? The Bhagavatam recommends that we become submissive and hear the message of God submissively. This message may be found in the also in Bhagavad Gita and other Vedic literatures, in Bible or Quran, in any one of its scriptures, or it may be heard from a realized soul. The main point is that one should not speculate but should simply hear about God. What will be the result of such hearing, regardless of what one, whether he be a poor or rich man or an American, European, Indian, or a Brahmana or Shudra, whatever. If one if one but hears about the transcendental word of God, the Lord, who can never be conquered by any power or force, will be conquered by the love. Arjuna was a friend of Krishna, but Krishna, although the supreme Godhead, because became Krishna, Arjuna's chariot driver, a miniature servant. Arjuna loved Krishna, and Krishna reciprocated his love in this way. Similarly, when Krishna was a child, he playfully took off the shoes of his father Nanda Maharaj and put them on his head. People may be People may try very hard to become one with God, but actually we can surpass that. We can become the father of the God. Of course, God is the father of all creatures, and he has no father himself. He accepts his devotees, his lover as a father. Krishna agrees to be conquered by his devotees out of love. One All one has to do is hear the message of the God very carefully.
In the seventh chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna gives additional ways in which he can be perceived in every step of life. Punyo gandha prithivyayam cha tejaschasmi vibhavasau jivanam sarvabhuteshu tapaschasmi tapasvishu. I am the original fragrance of the earth, and I am the heat in the fire. I am life of all that lives, and I am the princess of all ascetics. The words Punyo Gandha refers to fragrances. Only Krishna can create flowers and fragrances. We may synthetically create some fragrance or scents, but these are not as good as the original that occur in nature. When we smell a good natural fragrance, we think, oh, here is God, here is Krishna. Or when we see some natural beauty, we can think, oh, here is Krishna. Or when we see something uncommon, powerful, or wonderful, we can think, here is Krishna. Or when we see any form of life, whether it be a tree, in a plant, or an animal, or human being, we should understand that this life is part and parcel of Krishna. For as far as the spiritual spark, which is part and parcel of Krishna, is taken away from the body disintegrates. Bijam mam sarvabhutanam viddhi partha sanatanam buddhi madam asmi tejasvi namaham. O son of Pritha, know that I am the original seed of all existences, the intelligent of the intelligent, and the provest of all powerful man. Here again it is explicitly stated that Krishna is the life of all that lives. Thus at every step we can see God. People may ask, can you show me God? Yes, of course, God can be seen in so many ways, but if one closes his eyes and says, I shall not see God, then how can he be shown?
In the upper verse, the word Bijam means seed, and that seed is proclaimed to be eternal Sanatanam. One may see a huge tree, but what is the origin of this tree? It is the seed, and that seed is eternal. The seed of existence is within every living entity. The body itself may go through so many changes. It may develop within the mother's womb, come out as a small baby, and grow through childhood and adulthood, but the seat of that existence that is within is permanent. Therefore, therefore it is Sanatanam. Imperceptibly, we are changing our bodies at every movement, at every second. But the bijam, the seed, the spiritual spark, does not change. Krishna proclaims himself to be this internal seed within all existence. He is the intelligence of the intelligent people. Without being favored by Krishna, one cannot become extraordinarily intelligent. Everyone is trying to be more intelligent than others, but without the favor of Krishna, that is not possible. Therefore, whenever we encounter someone with extraordinary intelligence, we should think that that intelligence is Krishna. Similarly, the influence of one who is in the influence is also Krishna. Balam balvatam chaham kamam raga vivarjitam dharma viruddho bhuteshu kamasmi bharata sabha. I am the strength of the strong, devoid of the passion and desire. I am sex life, which is not contrary to religious principle, O Lord of Bharata's Arjun. The elephant and gorilla are very strong animals, but we should understand that they get their strength from Krishna. The human being cannot acquire such strength by their own endeavor, but if Krishna so favors a man, can get the strength to exceed the elephants thousands of times. The great warrior Bhima, who fought in the battle of Kurukshetra, was said to have the strength 10,000 times that of an elephant. Similarly, desire or lust, kama, that is not against religious principle, should always also be seen as Krishna. What is this lust? Lust generally means sex life, but here Kam refers to the sex life which is not against religious principle. That is to say, sex for the begetting of good children. If one can beget good Krishna conscious children, he can have sex thousands of times. But if he can only beget children who are raised in the consciousness of cats and dogs, his sex life is to be considered irreligious. In religious and civilized society, marriage is intended as an indication that couple is to engage in sex for begetting good children. Therefore, married sex life is considered religious and unmarried sex life is considered irreligious. Actually, there is no difference between the sannyasi and a householder, provided that the householder's sexual activities are based on religious principles.
ये चैव सात्विका भाव तामसाश्च ये मत्त एवेति तान् विद्धि न त्वहं तेषु ते मयि. Know that all states of being, be they goodness, passion, or ignorance, are manifested by my energy. I am in one sense everything, but I am independent. I am not under the modes of material nature, for they, on the contrary, are within me. One may question in this way: you say you are sound, water, illumination, fragrance, the seed of all strength and calm or desire. Does that mean you? Does that mean that you exist simply in the mode of goodness? In the material world, there are the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Thus far, Krishna has described himself as that which is good. For instance, sex and marriage according to religious principles. But what what about the other modes? Does Krishna not exist in them? The answer, Krishna replies that whatever is seen in this material world is due to the interaction of the three modes of material nature. Whatever can be observed is a combination of goodness, passion, and ignorance. And in all cases, these three states are produced by me. Because they are produced by Krishna, their position in is but he is not in them. For Krishna himself is transcendental to the three modes. Thus, in another sense, bad and evil things which are produced out of ignorance are also Krishna. When they are applied by Krishna, how is this? For example, an electrical engineer is producing electrical energy. In our homes, we are experiencing this electrical energy as coldness in the refrigerator or heat in the electric stove. But at the power plant, electrical energy is neither cold nor hot. The manifestations of the energy may be different for the living entities, but for Krishna, they are not different. Therefore, Krishna sometimes acts on what appears to be the principles of passion or ignorance. But for Krishna, there is nothing but Krishna. Just as just as for the electrical engineer, electrical energy is simply electricity and nothing else. He makes no distinction that this is cold electricity or that is hot electricity.
Everything is being generated by Krishna. Indeed, the Vedanta Sutra confirms Adhato Brahma Jigyasa Janmadi Yasya Yatha. Everything is flowing from the supreme absolute truth. What the living entity is considering to be good or bad is only so for the living entity, for his condition. But because Krishna is not conditioned, for him there is no question of bad or good. Because we are conditioned, we are suffering from dualities. For him, everything is perfect. Okay, so we'll end the session with Guru Vandana.